Welcome to episode 32 of Shane Talks. It's the Rom-Com-Bomb episode. We've got three gentlemen here to talk about some chick flick romantic comedies. I'm joined always by Jason Mayer, and we're joined again by Jason Richardson. We are going to talk real quick. This week I am drinking, I got my hands on Touched by an Angel. It is a Belgian triple, the newest release from Sun King. It is a Belgian triple that is aged in bourbon barrels. It has a really nice and unique flavor to it. Why are you laughing so hard, Jason?
Oh,
I was just thinking drama beer, like with the TV show Touched by an Angel.
Oh, I went a totally different direction.
Oh, beer that makes you heal, that heals you.
It is definitely a powerful because of the bourbon, but it's really smoothed out by the triple. Triple is brewed a lot longer than a normal beer, so it usually gets up to like 10% alcohol. Then you toss it in there with bourbon barrel aging. This is probably a solid 13-14%er. It's pretty it's delicious, but it's also going to be pretty strong. So this is going to be a fun episode. Richardson, since the last time you were on, Jason and I kind of started a new segment that we do. Well, one other time other than this, but I asked Jason what he watched this week and if he watched anything special or cool that he wanted to talk about. So, in the last week or two, have you watched anything? Well, let's address that. I'm glad we're all together. I'm glad we're here. We were not together last week like we were supposed to be because I was deathly ill. I was knocked out for a good 3 or 4 days, just not able to move, not able to get out of bed, food not staying down properly. I was pretty sick, so it was not a fun week last week, so we had to postpone till this week. So thank you guys for showing up this week to join me. But so in like the last 2 weeks, Richardson, is there anything big or major, like usually like newish that you've watched?
Oh man, putting me on the spot. You know, I have watched so much stuff.
You've been watching a lot of old school stuff, is what it looks like on Facebook.
Yeah, you know, it's almost a blur. And then I tried to watch a few new shows and just had to stop. There's I can't even think of the name of it. It's number one on Netflix right now about a mom and daughter. I got a quarter of the episode and I was like done. Stopped it. I'm trying to watch the show on Amazon that's been out a few years, Fleabag.
Okay.
And I'm not quite catching on like a lot of people are. So
right on.
I kind of diverted to familiar stuff from the 80s,
Nice.
like, you know, Blame It on Rio. I don't know if anyone here has seen that movie, but
I haven't seen it.
It's one of my favorites from the 80s. And,
Nice.
you know, like the beach skin movies and stuff. I've been kind of in that phase lately. So
Right on. Mayor, anything this week that you watched?
I watched Freaky.
Oh, did you like it?
Man, like, okay, so if anybody doesn't know, it's written by the same guy who did Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to you. So out of those three, I probably would go Happy Death Day Freaky, then Happy Death Day to you.
Right there with you.
But like Freaky, man, I was rolling and stuff, man.
It was fun. I you know what? I didn't think about that. I did rent that.
Nice.
Out of the Red Box. I had not been to a Red Box in like a year or two or whatnot, but I just saw that maybe a week and a half, and I thought it was great.
Yeah,
dude, that's something and like Vince Vaughn being like trying to play the 17-year-old girl was hilarious. I wish that I could have watched it with people because it would have been rolling. Funny. It'd be a great movie to like drink some beers and hang out with some friends.
Sure.
So good.
It was a lot of fun.
What else did I started Superman and Lois, which is the new show on CW. It's kind of cool and different. They fast forward from the Arrowverse kind of. They're in the future a little bit comparatively because Superman and Lois have two teenage boys, which were just born a few years ago on the CW Arrowverse network or their universe or whatever. So it's a little bit in the future. But it's like Superman trying to figure out how to be a dad and be Superman.
Okay.
And like if his kids have gifts and if he should tell his kids that he is Superman.
Interesting.
Because they don't know yet. And so it's it's a cool, different take on Superman. I'm, you know me, I love my, I love it when things stay very traditional. But this is going off a little bit in a direction, and I'm digging it so far.
Nice.
It's 2 episodes in, and really like it. And then the last thing, I just watched it today, because of you, Shane, was the Map of Little Things.
Yeah, the Map of Tiny Little Things or whatever.
Yeah. Perfect Little Things.
Perfect Little Things. There you go.
Time loop movie on Amazon. Same girl from Freaky
yep.
is the girl in this movie, the main girl in this movie. It's about a boy who is in a time loop, and he keeps reliving the same day, and then all of a sudden he bumps into somebody who is also kind of stuck in the exact same day with him. Yep. And they can remember everything that they do together, but nobody else remembers anything. And it's cute. It's not it's one of those movies where, like, if it was no-name actors, even more so than it is, you could totally see this being on like Lifetime or Hallmark or whatever. But for the quality of the execution of the film, it was really entertaining. I could have seen this being something that could have been in theaters for a long time, just from like word of mouth. Possibly, like, where, like, not like with the teenage crowd, like I'm not saying like it's going to do like 50, 60 people anytime. It's literally going to be that one that hangs on because it's doing 12 people a show or something like that on a Saturday.
I feel the same way as you. Like, I enjoyed watching it. Like, I don't plan on ever watching it again. Like, it was okay, but it wasn't special in any way. Like, I kind of feel like the end was kind of a cheat, in my opinion. Like, I didn't.
It totally was. It was, but it was for what it is for a movie.
Yeah,
it works. Yeah. It's fine. Like, I didn't feel like it jumped the shark or anything where I was like, no, that's impossible. It's more like okay. You just want to find a way to wrap this up.
Exactly. Like, I was happy watching it at home with my family. I had no interest in, like, it's not something I would have ever cared to watch in a theater or ever paid for to watch it. Like, I don't think it was worth money at all, but it was okay.
I forgot to mention, I also when I went to the Red Box and I rented Frenzy.
Freaky.
Yes. Redbox is now selling used copies of Blu-rays and DVDs.
Oh boy!
So I went on ahead.
Your new $5 bin.
What's that?
Is it your new $5 bin?
Almost now, yeah. I was just kind of like, so I bought the Liam Neeson movie. Is it The Honest Thief, The Good Thief?
Yep, The Honest Thief.
It was for $4.99. I figured, well, that's only $3 more than what the rental would be. I'd take the risk because I like, whatever Liam Neeson movies, whatever.
Was it good?
And I enjoyed it.
Okay.
It was fun. It's a fun movie. You going along the ride with the characters, and I like when movies do that. Even though, like, don't take it seriously, but you just go for the ride, and you just want to be with the characters, and you're kind of on that journey with them. And I like that, even though it's not like a grade type movie. It's just a fun movie to ride along with.
I wonder.
I highly recommend it.
He totally has that. A couple of years ago, he was like, "I'm done making revenge movies where I'm a gunman or whatever." And it's like, that's all you keep making. like, you obviously don't mind the check that keeps coming to you.
Oh, I know. He's got one in the theaters right now. It's like he just keeps cranking them out. So I'll wait for DVD, Blu-ray for that.
Sure,
we'll add it to the collection. So
I will say that I'm looking forward to Raya, just for the fun. Differentness. We watched Tom and Jerry.
Any good? I haven't watched it yet.
It's okay. Tim Story directed it, so it's fun.
Sure,
but it's
for kids.
Yeah, it is. My kids loved it while we were watching it. Good. There were some funny laugh out moments even for me, but and Michael Pena is ridiculously silly like he always is. But like, yeah, it's just fine. Nothing special. I'll never own it unless the kids are like begging me to buy it or something. This is a movie that is a one and done for me for the most part. So
word. Well, I watched something different than you guys. I journeyed back to my 80s childhood, and what's that?
I said you watched porn.
No.
And then I went back to the 80s and I said, okay, you didn't watch porn.
No. I revisited who I realized this week was probably the first crush I ever had in my life. Like, at like 7 or 8 years old, I am pretty sure that like Punky Brewster was the first girl that like I ever had a crush on.
Wow.
And like Peacock just did their revival series just like Full House did. Like they brought it all to the future where she's a single mom now, and Freddie Prinze Jr. is her ex-husband. So obviously I was super excited about that.
Princess Leia, definitely.
I could get down with Punky Brewster. Full House. I liked Full House back in the day. I couldn't even do the new version.
Sure,
of that.
And the new version of Full House is super over cheesy. I liked it for the nostalgia factor. Same thing goes with this. Like I said, I was really excited about Freddie Prinze Jr. being involved in it. After I watched the second episode, I went over and was talking to my wife about the show, and she was like, how do you like it? How do you feel about it? And I was like, man, like, I like it. It's fun, but I hate Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character. Like, I was so excited about him being in this show, but he's just like a douchebag and like a terrible character. Like, it sucks that somebody I like is doing this really bad character on this show. Third episode, as soon as it was over, I walked back in and I was like, they won me over with the third episode. Freddie Prinze Jr. is awesome. He's my favorite character now. Like, so the rest of the show I really kind of enjoyed. It's the same thing as Full House, bringing it into the modern times, dealing with modern problems that kids have. It is what it is. It was just interesting to watch it and have that realization in my mind that like. At 7 or 8, that was the first. And Jason, I don't disagree. I agree that when I was young, I liked Princess Leia and everything, but like
gold bikini.
Like the gold bikini. I mean, obviously at 7 and 8, I was into that, but like I think because it was a TV show that I could watch a lot of, and I felt like she was a real person, like a real person I could hang out with. I didn't hang out with anybody in pink or in gold bikinis, so like I couldn't. I don't know. But, like, just the fact that she was weird, the fact that she had colored hair, the fact that she had mismatched clothes, like, those are all things that, like, I feel like as I grew up, like, those were stages of my life that I didn't get out of. Like, when I was dating people, like, I was into, like, really weird chicks and whatnot because of Punky Brewster. And
DJ was definitely that for me.
What's that?
DJ from Full House, totally.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a crush on her, too. Like, for sure, I see that. The other thing that I watched this week was so bizarre and so out of like left field for me, but while I was deathly ill and laying in bed, I got an obsession with Jaws for some reason. And so like 2 or 3 days ago, I finally was like, I'm going to sit down and watch Jaws. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know why, but like just for days, I was like, man, I really want to watch Jaws today. And then I didn't get around to it. The next day, I was like, oh, I wanted to watch Jaws yesterday. I should watch it today. And I didn't get around to it. So, like, 2 days ago, on Monday, I finally sat down and I watched Jaws. And I don't know why I was obsessed with watching it. I watched it, and the only thing that I could really think of while I was watching it was, man, this movie is really slow. Yes,
but it's so good.
It is good, and, like, the dialogue is very good, and it's, like, a very good character-driven movie. But, like, as I was watching it, like, the first, like, 40 minutes of it, I was bored out of my mind.
Blockbusters back then were just totally different.
They were.
Yeah, but it was but Jaws is, if someone tried to make Jaws today, it would just it wouldn't be as good. And they took their time with it.
Yep.
And there was a build up, but it was kind of like a little roller coaster ride.
Sure.
But it was character driven.
Yep.
And it was smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to take that kind of lengthy, drawn-out journey for it to be smart.
For sure.
Because
I don't disagree.
Today's standards would be like wham, bam, cheesy,
Be the Meg.
Oh, it'd be the Meg, yes. Like, as I was watching it, I'm seriously, like, man, like, it's been a while since anything interesting has happened. It's just been a lot of people talking. And that's my first thought was, like, a movie like this that's like a blockbuster action movie, that wouldn't fly today, like, in the theaters.
Well, if you think about it, part of the fear was the the in between with the characters in the small town and how they felt.
Sure.
And that was part of the eeriness of just the idea of this thing out in the water. And so it's the reaction of people and the dialogue, but of going on between the town members and such. That's part of the smartness of the film.
Yeah, it was just very weird to watch. Again, I don't even know where this came from. Like, I don't know what was going on, but I literally was just like, I want to watch Jaws. So I did, and that was what it was. So this past weekend, we had the Golden Globes. Did either of you guys watch the Golden Globes?
I did not.
You didn't?
I watched 15 minutes of it, and I'm
wow.
I'm done.
Wow. Two of my biggest movie people I know did not care about the... You guys gonna watch the Oscars this year? Eh? Okay. I mean, I don't blame you, because both of these are just bullshit popularity contests, and I'm fine with...
That's exactly it. And the Oscars may always have a special place in my heart. I don't think the energy this year is there for, what's supposed to be nominated.
Well,
and,
true.
Obviously the last year we've kind of been off the last year, but maybe the Oscars, I think, is the only thing of that entertainment world, that award show, that I would gravitate to, because I just made the comment not too long ago. Like, I tried to watch the Grammys and the American Music Awards, and I'm like, this is just bullshit. Like, I've outgrown it, basically.
Okay, all right.
I've outgrown it.
Then the only thing I want to mention about the Golden Globes is the fact that Jason Sudeikis won for Ted Lasso for Best Male Actor Performance, and he totally deserved it. Absolutely amazing. They ended up,
and I like too what he wore.
I do too.
I mean? Because it was just kind of like everyone's at home.
Yeah.
And the viewers are at home, and there's a pandemic per se, and we're not meeting in person, and it's like, why is everybody all dolled up? I mean, come on,
What did he wear?
He wore a tie-dyed hoodie. Yeah.
He just kept it real.
And the next day, on Monday morning, I saw a lot of stuff online about people claiming that he was high, which wouldn't surprise me because he did not give a very good speech for winning. He stumbled through it a lot.
That divorce is really getting to him.
Divorce is really getting to him, I think, which sucks.
Like his character.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting. I wish him the best.
I do too.
Right. So let us get on to talking about some rom-coms. Thank you guys for those random bits of things that we talk about at the beginning of the episodes now. So we did a poll on the Facebook page. We asked people to add... I put up like 20 rom-coms that I thought of off the top of my head. Like 57 additional movies got added to the list. We took the top 10 of those. But then I also asked you guys if there was any that you really wanted to talk about, just so that we can make sure that, some of our favorite rom-coms, even if they weren't in the top 10 of voting, we got to talk about. So we're going to do a couple of honorable mentions here at the beginning. We don't need to go too in deep with them, but I just want to see if we all agree with each other on how good some of them are. So my first one was the 1999 rom-com Drive Me Crazy with Adrienne Grenier and Melissa Joan Hart. Fun story about two people who get their hearts broken because they get broken up with, and then they decide to date each other just so they can make their significant others jealous. It's one of my favorites. I really enjoy it. Obviously, it's from '99. I was a teenager at that point. It hit me in a really good place. How do you guys feel about Drive Me Crazy?
It's better than She's All That.
Which is in my top 5, but we're not going to specifically talk about it tonight. But I do like She's All That.
Drive Me Crazy is an adorable movie. Like, it's not great. It's not awesome. It's just fun.
Sure.
And entertaining. I like Adrienne Grenier's character throughout the whole and the development of him. I think some of the funnier stuff is his best friends.
Sure.
And the crap that goes on with them. Him and Melissa Joan Hart's parents. Mom and dad, that kind of chemistry thing that happens is kind of cool. But yeah, overall, I enjoy the movie. Me and you were right on the same page with being a '99 movie, and it was something that was just a lot of just very enjoyable at that point. So,
Jaybird, you got feelings on it?
Drive Me Crazy is a movie that I forget a lot of the details of the movie, but I know of the stars in it.
Sure.
If someone asks me if I like it or not, I always say I do like the movie, but I forget the movie a lot. But the movie has a special place in my heart because it is a staple of the 90s, and that particular point in time when that movie was released, it was just a really, really good period. And here we are, kind of wrapping up the 90s. And at the time, you had the Britney Spears remix song kind of tied with the movie, and she was big. And that was kind of just the big pop music thing. And then that was tied to the film. So that holds a special place for me. But I have to when I rewatch the film, I'm always like, I forget what happens. So it's like new to me each time I watch it, but I like the movie.
Awesome. So Jason Richardson, you mentioned You've Got Mail is one of your favorite rom-coms, the 1998 film with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. It was written and directed by Nora Ephron, who also wrote and directed them together in Sleepless in Seattle, so they had a good rapport together.
Superior movie.
You think Sleepless in Seattle is superior?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
I probably would. They're like so on par in my opinion. Like they're both the same movie.
I didn't get You've Got Mail like most people did, man. Like,
really?
Sleepless in Seattle felt like a home run. This felt like a single, barely a single.
Well, like my always issue with Sleepless in Seattle is the fact that they don't meet until the last 5 minutes of the movie. Like that was always my big issue with that movie. This one, at least they have their random encounters, which, obviously real world, not very real, but for film world storyline, it worked. But their random encounters, not knowing, like their random encounters where they dislike each other, I felt was a very funny offset to their online romance that was going on. Like, I felt like that was some good dramatic irony that was going on. That was fun to watch. So Jaybird, why you got this on your list? What's so special about You've Got Mail to you?
Because, again, from the 90s, I'm at the end of the day, I'm a hopeless romantic. Although I'm not one to be in a relationship right now, at the end of the day, I'm still a hopeless romantic, and I'm always up for a good romantic rom-com.
Sure.
And Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan just are magic together when they do films and such. And for me, we all go through that point in our life where we dream about that person, who we're destined to be with and such. And when we started to kind of get online and chat with people in chat rooms, and everyone can identify with connecting to someone that you would keep in touch with and you never met, but you would kind of feel like you're having or developing a relationship with someone. And is, it's that question of, is this that person for me? And should we meet? Should we not meet? And just kind of the whole mysteriousness about it. And I think they really captured some really cool shots of New York and the neighborhoods, the shop around the corner. And it's just a movie that I just embrace and love. And I love to watch it. I don't know why during the winter season. Probably because that's when it came out during the Christmas holidays. But I just think it's not, Oscar A+ material like that. But for a rom-com, it's just a fun, sweet, lovable movie with good actors and just a good time.
Nice. All right, Jason Mayer, one of your top three you wanted to make sure we talked about was the film Serendipity with John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale. They randomly meet when they're both trying to buy a pair of black gloves. They end up going out to dinner. They both leave items at the Serendipity 3 restaurant that they eat dinner at, which you and I have eaten dinner at together very romantically.
I was one table away with my wife at one point.
Yeah, I don't remember how close we were. Well, it was you, me, and your wife, if everybody really needs to know the truth. Like, I was the third wheel that night. But I did eat there with you.
That was my second time being there.
That's fine. You had your date night first, and then I third wheeled it the next time you guys went there. But anyway, so they both leave items there. They end up both going back at the exact same time to retrieve those items. It's fate that they met for a second time. They start hanging out, and stuff happens. What about this film puts it in your top rom-coms?
Okay, so first of all, it's John Cusack, which and I almost he reminds me of Sam Rockwell.
Oh,
like
okay.
They might not pick the best movie to be in, but they are almost always really good in the movie that they are in.
Sure.
I like that. Kate Beckinsale is just, yeah, she's British. She's smoking hot.
Oh yeah.
Forever one of my crushes ever since Underworld, for sure. But yeah, so she just Jeremy Piven plays his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a really good chemistry between John Cusack and him, have a really good banter going back and forth constantly. And it's just that I'm kind of like Jaybird. I'm that hopeless romantic. So it's that whole aspect of they're supposed to be together. It's just they're not supposed to be together right now.
Mm.
So everything's just the stars do have to line up for them to actually finally be together. And so like there's all these small moments where they're almost together and that they almost run into one another, and it just doesn't happen until the right moment. And it's just one of those movies that, especially when you're single, definitely can speak to you in a way that makes you believe that it's like, you know, if you're ever down on your luck and you're like, man, is this ever going to happen? Like, this is a movie that you watch it and you're like, yeah, it's definitely still a possibility. So,
well, and like your description right there makes me like, I'm going off script for a second. I have to add a movie that I didn't even think of until right this minute. Like, one of my all-time favorite books was turned into an okay movie, but it's called One Day with Jim Sturgis and Anne Hathaway. It's not the exact same situation, but it's, you know, two people that meet in college, decide to be, well, they hook up in college and then decide to be friends throughout their life. And then, you know, it takes them 20 years to decide that they actually want to be together, but they're just friends for like 20 years throughout different relationships. Like, he gets married, she has a longtime boyfriend, like, things just never work out, and then they end up, like, at that moment where it's like, oh, we do want to be together, like, 20 years after we met each other. So, like, that's one of my all-time favorite books. It was turned into an okay movie, but I completely forgot about it until you were describing Serendipity. So that's my, like, 3B for us talking about. Jason Richardson, do you have feelings on Serendipity?
Yeah, I liked Serendipity, and I also like the fact that it's short. It's brief and to the point. But, like, you know, You've Got Mail, when you watch movies like You Got Mail and Serendipity, it's kind of like, I can't remember that line that Meg Ryan used in You've Got Mail, but it's like the idea or dream of being with someone. And in both of these movies, you know, these characters are with other people. But you realize as the audience member, they're not with the right person.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people have been in relationships where they realize they're not supposed to be with the person they're supposed to be with. And so when you watch movies like Serendipity and You've Got Mail, it's that idea of being with that right person you're supposed to be with that kind of makes it magical and something you can relate to. And sure. So, yeah, or, you know, is this how it's supposed to play out? Like Jason was saying, like, we should be together, but right now is at the right time, or, you know, our moment will be at some point in the future. So, yeah, I enjoyed Serendipity a lot, and I do own it, yes.
Nice. So the next one that I'm going to go to is, I don't know if it's because you're like 10 years older than me, Jaybird, but like, she's got
There's always a demographic issue and difference on conversation.
I've only ever seen the movie once. I watched it in theaters, but I didn't love it. So I'm very curious to hear what there is about She's Gotta Give.
Say it again.
She's Gotta Give. Your other one to talk about. Something's Gotta Give.
Something's Gotta Give.
Something's Gotta Give. Like, that's an old people rom-com. Like,
well, and that's why, and it's one of the reasons why I included it, because the one thing that makes it fun is that you're seeing a rom-com from a different perspective, being an older people, and generally you don't see that, because at some point our asses are going to be old one day. So it's kind of gives you an idea of like, oh, I hope I got that spark or juice, you know.
Was As Good as It Gets considered a rom-com?
Yes.
Was it? Okay.
I consider that more of a dramedy.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering the same thing.
And when we were listing, when you put the thing on the your page and people were listing out films beyond what you had put, it started to get a little crazy. Like, wait a second, okay, I don't think, like, you know, like.
I agree.
Even I was coming up with ideas, and I was thinking, would Father of the Bride be a rom-com? But I guess, but it, you know, but when I think of rom-com, I think of more so it is centered on two people, whereas that was kind of more about a family and a daughter getting married, you know. And
go ahead, Mayor.
I was going to chime in with the fact that, so when you asked us for our top 3, I literally had a list of 12.
Oh, wow.
Like,
yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
I was sitting there going, and I'm looking at this list of 12 and I'm going, I don't think that this is, like, for me, this isn't a rom-com. Like, like our number 1, which I won't spoil for anybody, our number 1, totally not a rom-com for me personally.
Agreed. Totally agreed. I know what that is. You'll get to that. So
we'll get there.
But going back to Something's Gotta Give, I like the fact that it's from an older perspective. And Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton are phenomenal actors, and it was fun to just watch them be youthful and, you know, find that spark again. And it's just a very smart, witty, romantic comedy. And Nora Ephron, I think she's the one who directed that as well.
Yep. Oh,
I think it's an excellent movie. Jason?
No, it was directed by Nancy Meyers, who wrote both the Father of the Bride films.
Oh my gosh!
Nancy Meyers did Something's Gotta Give.
Okay.
She also did What Women Want and The Holiday, so she has a very good rom-com. Vibe.
History. Yes. I forget. I do get those two women mixed up.
Sure.
So my bad on that.
Yeah. No, Nancy Meyers.
Got degraded on my movie card. But no, it's a great movie. I mean, what did you guys think of it? I would think that one you guys could appreciate.
That's the thing, man. Like I said, I've only ever seen it once, and I remember like being blah about it. Like I don't remember liking it. Like not that I'm not saying that I hated the movie, but I just feel like I wasn't the right demographic for it. I don't remember like laughing a lot. Like I rewatched the trailer today to remind me of like what actually happened in the movie, and I was just like, I just don't remember liking this. Like I didn't have fun with it.
Even Keanu was in it, you know.
Keanu was in it, and I think I cared more about Keanu than the main characters. Like you got to think that movie's almost 20 years old now, so I was like 20-ish when it came out. And, like I didn't care about 50 and 60-year-old people. I didn't think I was gonna live that long.
Give it a try then. Give it a try now, I should say.
Something's Gotta Give is one of those ones where I will totally agree with you, Shane. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I do remember As Good as It Gets a lot more because I really enjoyed that one.
I did too.
But if we're not considering, and you know, I could see where you would say that it's a dramedy and not really a romantic comedy. But yeah, like I remember I've seen As Good as It Gets a couple of times, whereas Something's Gotta Give I've only seen I think the once.
Well, and I liked the fact I know I commented on the poll when you put up Something's Gotta Give. For whatever reason, my mind instantly went to She's Gotta Have It from Spike Lee. Oh. And so I was like, why does he think that's a romantic comedy? Like, there's nothing comedic in She's Gotta Have It. And then, like, I reread it, and I was like, oh, that's not the movie he was talking about. So I kind of cheated for this last little bit. I am obviously a huge Cameron Crowe fan. I feel like he writes a lot of really good romantic relationships. But I can also see how a lot of his movies are more dramatic than comedic. So his 5 films that I really enjoy for their relationships, I'm going to ask you guys if you feel like they're rom-coms or not, just to see where you guys think they fit. So the first thing, Say Anything. John Cusack and Ione Skye. Would you call that a rom-com? No? All right.
Dramedy.
All right. Singles. Matt Dillon and Kira Sedgwick.
It's the theater. Like, I don't remember.
Dramedy also, Jaybird?
I would just... because it's not full drama, but Yeah, a drum.
I mean, but like, there's some really funny stuff in that movie too.
There is. We'll go with dramedy because it's just not. It's not a full-fledged drama.
What about Jerry Maguire?
No, it's dramedy.
Dramedy all the way. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's not a rom-com.
Okay. Yeah. Almost Famous.
Not a rom.
Drama.
Drama. Yeah. All right. And Elizabethtown.
Oh, that is so
dramedy.
Dramedy. All right. Well, cool. So Cameron Crowe writes dramedies. So we'll do an episode on Cameron Crowe dramedies in the future. But cool. So as I said, we did an online.
What, Vanilla Sky? You didn't want to mention that one?
No.
Aloha. Let's talk about that one.
Aloha is unfortunately, it might be worse than Vanilla Sky, which sucks.
I didn't even give that one a try.
What about We Bought a Zoo? Is that a rom-com?
No, it is not.
No, that's a dramedy.
That's a dramedy also. Right.
Family dramedy.
All right, cool.
And I really enjoy that movie.
That movie's a fantastic movie. Got Black Widow in it. So we did a community poll. I put up an open poll where people could add their own options to it. I threw out the first 20 rom-coms that I could think of off the top of my head, and like 57 other movies got added to it. We had some of my friends like Jay Hampton and Holly Willman, Chris Schneider, John Petty, and Mark Stratton, who threw out some really good ideas and options on there. And then we had our friend Dave Lichty, who threw out like 40 movies of his own, half of which I don't even think are comedies in any way. So that got kind of awkward and interesting. He did throw out some good 70s movies that are comedies that I wouldn't necessarily consider romances. So it's really weird because I'm starting to really think that the rom-com as a rom-com started in the late 90s, early 2000s, and that's just literally where it lived. Because I feel like nothing like post-2010 maybe was any good, and nothing before like 95 was any good. So these rom-coms that we're going to talk about kind of live in that area. The number 10 vote-getting movie was actually one I didn't add. It was added by my friend Ben Grigsby, and it's Hitch. The Will Smith, Kevin James, Eva Mendes film. Totally agree that it's a rom-com. Definitely deserves to be here. Yeah. And I enjoy the execution of the film. I really enjoy the fact that it's like Will Smith is a advisor to guys who are trying to get with girls. He eventually, Jeffrey Donovan, I think, is the guy that like tries to get it to hire him, and Will Smith refuses. So he ends up like exposing him to Eva Mendes, who Will Smith is trying to hook up with. And so then Eva Mendes writes this big article about Will Smith and how bad of a person he is.
Spoiler alerts, man. All you had to do was talk about him being a pickup artist. Go ahead.
Well, but I'm getting to the point where like the thing I really enjoy about the movie near the end is when Will Smith realizes that so Kevin James's girlfriend, after this article comes out, Kevin James's girl that he got him to get hooked up with, they break up because she like finds out that he went to Will Smith's character. So Will Smith goes and confronts her, and when she's telling him all the stuff that she liked about Kevin James, Will Smith realizes, like, I had nothing to do with that. Like literally all I did was give my clients my confidence, and it was just their personalities that actually won these women. Like, beginning of the movie, he thinks that he's the one, like, transforming these men into what women want. Like, I really enjoy the fact that he comes to the realization, like, I just gave them the confidence to do what was already in their heads. So I really enjoyed Hitch a lot more than I ever thought I was going to. Like, I thought it was going to be a pretty basic, stupid, generic rom-com, and I actually really enjoyed where they took the story. What do you guys feel?
My favorite scene is when he kicked the shit out of Eva Mendes on the water bike.
Okay.
I lost it on that. I just laughed. That was a great, just hysterical moment because just stupid shit like that happens to people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I just like that. So,
Mayor, what are your feelings on Hitch?
Hitch is a really solid rom-com. It's got a really good soundtrack to it, which a lot of these movies do have good soundtracks most of the time. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Will Smith probably at the height of his powers, maybe as far as being a superstar.
Came out in 2005,
or maybe coming down off of his superstar status, really. But I can watch this movie anytime it's on.
Nice.
Well, it was nice to see him in that role because he's cocky anyways. But at least he wasn't fighting, space aliens and stuff, which he had done many a times already. So it was a refreshing role for him, and it was just a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it, and that's all I have to say on it.
Does the name Andy Tennant mean anything to you guys?
Director,
who also did things like Fools Rush In, Ever After, and Sweet Home Alabama, which is on the list. Ever After
and Sweet Home Alabama, solid on the other one.
You don't like Fools Rush In?
Fools Rush In is not
it's fun.
Good. It's not.
Is that
good.
the Matthew McConaughey?
No, Matthew Perry.
Selma
Hayek.
Okay, then all right, then that's fine. But I still like the other two better.
Yeah. Okay. So at least he's got a good genre of rom-coms that he's directed.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 on our list was the 2009 film The Proposal, which is Ryan Reynolds in a comedy with Sandra Bullock and Betty White. It's kind of a dumb plot, in my opinion. This is actually a movie that Caitlin wanted to watch not too long ago, so sometime during COVID, I can't remember how long ago it was, because COVID has been a year now, but sometime during COVID, we watched The Proposal, because she'd never seen it, but always wanted to, so we watched it. It honestly still kind of holds up. I really had fun with it. I laughed a lot during the movie. Ryan Reynolds is obviously perfect in everything that he does. He's obviously half naked for part of this movie, which is very attractive. But the plot again is pretty stupid. Sandra Bullock's a Canadian who's about to get deported, and so she comes up with the idea of marrying her assistant, who is Ryan Reynolds. But then the INS or whoever tells them that they don't believe their relationship. So then she has to go back to Alaska with him to tell his parents that they're getting married. Kind of a lot of convoluted stuff, but then it's, if two people spend enough time together, they can learn how to love each other, despite the fact they hate each other for the first 30 minutes, 45 minutes of the movie. But again, like I said, I watched it within the last year. It holds up. I had a lot of fun. I laughed a lot. Betty White is amazing in this movie. She has some of the best jokes. Thoughts and feelings you guys have on The Proposal?
Solid movie. It's fine for what it was. It's not something I ever think about I need to pop that in. It's blah. Okay. I mean, this is what Ryan Reynolds, when everything he did was a rom-com. So
True.
Before he ever got cast in any kind of serious kind of thing. So
was better than that Green Lantern.
Jaber, do you got any feelings on The Proposal? Anything to stand out about? Do you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, I do it. I own it.
Nice.
I watched it probably at some point during COVID. I put it back in. I got the Blu-ray and not for $5. Normal price back then.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's one I enjoy. I'm a sucker for Sandra Bullock, and she fits in the rom-com department big time. While you were sleeping, one of my favorites.
2 Weeks Notice is absolutely hilarious.
2 Weeks Notice, outstanding movie, and I just watched that not too long ago.
Literally just wrote down. Sorry, Jake. I was going to say I wrote down 4 movies that are not on our list whatsoever. That I still really enjoy, even though that they're not on our list.
And is 2 Weeks Notice one of them?
2 Weeks Notice and While You Were Sleeping are both on this.
Nice. Those are both very good movies.
The Proposal, I like it. I can watch. It's fun to pop in. I still think it was an odd combination of Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. I would have never pictured those two together. He just seems so much younger than she is. But I don't even know how he really is in life. But as you're watching the movie, you get used to them and it works. But I still think it's an odd pairing I would have never thought of putting together. And that was my only issue with that movie. But again, when you put it in, you watch it, and as you progress through the movie, you're like, you're used to it, and then it ends up like, oh, this works.
Sure.
But I always think it's still an odd pairing, though.
Agreed. So our number 8 film on the poll is one that for everybody listening, I sent out to Jason and said, hey, tell me your top 3 rom-coms that you want to make sure we talk about on this episode, whether they're in the top 10 or not. I just want to make sure we talk about like the ones you guys really love. On Jason Richardson's list, it did not include Never Been Kissed. But we've mentioned numerous times how much he loves Never Been Kissed.
Well, it goes back to what Mayer was saying earlier. Is like he came up with 12 films. I mean, It's hard. Rom-com, I think, sometimes don't get enough credit. Or it's all about Marvel and action movies and all that stuff that people, go about these days and sequels and stuff. But at the end of the day, when you tell us to make a list of 3 of your favorite rom-coms, that's hard.
Okay.
It was very, very, very hard. But Never Been Kissed, oh my gosh.
All right, talk to me about it.
So again, from the 90s, and just during that period, there were a lot of these type of movies.
Yep.
And I am a cheerleader for Drew Barrymore. She is just an inspiration. I don't care what she does or how bad or good she's in it. I cheerlead for Drew Barrymore, and I just have a soft spot in my heart for her. And that movie was just a sweet little movie that I think a lot of people can identify something out of that movie, identify with it in their past life. And during that whole horrible high school period of Josie Grossi or being picked on, or
and that's
knowing someone who kind of fits that character,
That's the funny thing about this movie. So 2 years ago in 2019, it was the 20th anniversary of like 1999. So every week I would look up what came out that week in 1999 and I would watch it. And then I would put up reviews on my Facebook page about, this week X movie came out in 1999. It's 20 years old now. I rewatched it this week and here's what I thought about it. That's one of the ones that we worked together in April of 1999 when it came out. Like, it was not my favorite rom-com from 1999. It was one that I actually really didn't care for 20 years ago. But when I watched it in 2019, it was one that I connected with in a way that I didn't back then. And I think it's part of the going back to high school and going back and reliving things where at this age that I'm at now, I'm kind of in that mindset. I miss life 20 years ago. I miss life in 1999. So watching Never Been Kissed in 2019 had a totally different feel to me than it did when I watched it in 1999, where I was, it was one of 20 rom-coms that year, and I didn't really care for it. But
that's why I think you should watch Something's Gotta Give.
Okay, again. I will. I promise you I will. Mayor, what is your thoughts on Never Been Kissed?
I remember thinking it was fine when I saw it. Never been interested to go back.
Okay.
It's not something I'd rather watch Drew Barrymore and a couple of other rom-coms instead of this one.
Or Scream.
Never Been Kissed is one of those movies where if I'm flipping through the TV and it's on, the channel stays there.
Nice. And I like Michael Vartan a lot in this movie, a lot more than I did in 99 when I didn't really know who he was. But 20 plus years of experience of who Michael Vartan is as an actor, when I rewatched it, I really enjoyed him in that film.
But it really did tap into that whole bullshit high school clique thing. And, someone popular and then that kind of then makes you popular. And because, her brother basically made her popular.
Sure. David Arquette.
In the film. And I totally can remember that whole thing from back in high school and just the fakeness of everyone and whatnot and such. And I never want to go back to high school, but it definitely brought back memories. But I love that movie. So anyways.
It's very good. And again, I was surprised that it was not in your top 3. We have to talk about it. But we still talked about it.
You made it very difficult with only picking 3, Shane.
Well, but we still got to talk about it, so it's all good. Number 7 on the list is Sweet Home Alabama from 2002.
So I can kiss you anytime I want.
Reese Witherspoon, Josh Lucas, Patrick Dempsey, Fred Ward, Candice Bergen. Like, this is one of those ones.
Right.
This is one of those ones where when I saw the trailer, I thought it was going to be complete garbage. I was not impressed with the trailer at all, but I sadly kind of like the movie. Like, it's okay.
This movie
it's a fun movie.
This is my Never Been Kissed. This is, if it's
Really?
on TV, I end up watching it almost every time.
Really?
It also doesn't hurt that the poster always reminded me of Margaret White, Nick's wife.
Interesting. Why?
Just how slender she is, and how and the just the way that her hair is and everything in the picture of her standing in the sleek black dress reminded me of Margaret growing up. But I always thought it was kind of funny that she reminded me of Margaret. So, but this movie is just fun and delightful, and Patrick Dempsey, my brother Mike used to always point out that Patrick Dempsey does the exact thing that he should do in this. And you have so many rom-coms where the guy does something stupid and he shouldn't have done what he did.
Sure.
But he does, like, he gets mad when he gets told that what's going on.
Yep.
And then once he finally realizes it's over, he's just like, he doesn't try to fix it. He just walks away. And it's like, yeah, her and Josh Lucas in this. It is Josh Lucas, right?
Josh Lucas,
like,
yep.
Yeah, like her and their chemistry is awesome.
It's so good because it's so funny good. Like, they act like two people who've known each other for 20 years and just know the right thing to cut in as they walk away. Like, the first conversation they have when she shows up at his house to try to get him to sign the paperwork, and they just. It's like this stab fest between the two of them. Like, I'm going to cut you here, but I've got the comeback and I'm going to cut you here. Like, it's very good dialogue between the two of them. That's hurtful funny. Like, they're saying it because they're trying to be hurtful, but it's actually just like funny commentary on each other.
And Ethan Embry's awesome in this movie too. Like, he plays like their best friend from growing up or something.
The gay guy.
Yeah, the guy she outs.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that.
He's fun. He's always, to me, he's been funny for decades. So
sure, can't hardly wait.
But even like That Thing You Do, like,
yep.
He's funny in that too.
That's
like his point. Empire Records. He's just if you want a goofy, fun guy, you should have Ethan Embry as your guy.
Good call.
So he but yeah, like, I just really enjoy his character in the movie. Is really good, and yeah, the dichotomy between the two main characters is perfect. So
yeah, very enjoyable movie. Also directed by Andy Tennant, who we had talked about a few minutes ago. So definitely a dude that knows how to do his rom-coms. The next movie that we're going to talk about, number 6 on the voting, was the Adam Sandler Drew Barrymore film 50 First Dates, which is one that I liked when I saw it the first time, but I definitely liked more every time I watch it. Like, the first time I watched it, I don't know if I was prepared for how they were going to take the story. The evolution of their relationship, I think, just kind of, I won't say confused me, but like discombobulated me in how they took their relationship. But every time I've watched it since the first time, I've enjoyed it more and more. If you haven't seen the movie, the plot of it is literally Drew Barrymore's character got in a car accident. She can't form new memories, so to her it's always the same day, which the day is her dad's birthday. So in her mind, she is always celebrating her dad's birthday every day. Adam Sandler meets her. He meets her father and her brother, who, because of her condition, every day they act like it's the father's birthday. So they're acting out his birthday every day that they're hanging out. Throughout the course of the film, like, she starts to show signs of the fact that she can form new memories and that she remembers Adam Sandler's character. It's got its ups and downs. They have fights. It's funny at times, but it's one that the more times I watch it, the more I enjoy it. Mayor, what you laughing about?
Sean Astin's character in this movie is hilarious.
Yes, he is.
The brother.
The brother is a lot of fun.
He's really funny.
Yes, he is. Richardson, how do you feel about 50 First Dates? Mayor, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a sweet movie, like, and especially like the ending is just like love knows no bounds, essentially. So sure. Like that's why I like it so much. What were you gonna say, Jaybird?
I think I liked it more then, and I like it less now. But I don't hate the movie, but it's not like a go-to for me. And I actually own the disc, the CD or DVD. I don't know. To me, the more I think about it, the more depressed I get when I watch it, because I just feel sorry for Drew Barrymore. And I'm just kind of like, I can't watch that again, because it just kills me
and like
the repetition. And then it's just, when you think about it, it's fucking sad.
It is very sad. But that's what I like about the end now, is when they're on the boat and she wakes up to the VHS tape that explains everything about what's going on to her. I feel like that's so much better than the beginning of the film, where they were just faking it with her and making her think it was the same day.
No, totally agreed with that. I like that, but I was just like, oh my God, I just wanted her fucking memory back by the end of the movie. Sure. You know what I mean? I was just like, okay. But it was just one of those things where it's like, who came up with this? And they're neat aspects of the movie, but I was just kind of like, this is not one I'm just going to watch.
It gives you hope, because at the end when they meet and she says that I dream about you every night, like that's at least like, ooh, they might have a future. Like he might be what helps her get through this.
Yeah, but I'm just kind of tired of the whole Groundhog Day repeat kind of thing.
But
it's still,
luckily for us, we don't experience that.
I don't hate the movie. It just tires me out.
Okay, understandable.
But I love those two together, though. Those two can't do wrong. Even if they've done wrong, they can't do wrong.
And they've done a lot of wrong together, because I mean they did a lot of very.
What's that movie? Co-mingling or something?
Yeah, I don't remember. They've done like Netflix movies together, and they've done like
where they bring their families together. What's that movie? And they go out in the jungle, or the African. Co-mingling,
something.
Yeah, when you bring your families together.
Yeah.
When you have kids, she has kids.
Yeah, that was not very good. I didn't enjoy that one. Yeah. They've done some good stuff together, but they've also done some pretty bad stuff together.
Oh my God, what is that word now?
I can't remember what that movie's called. Mayor, what are you looking up?
No, I was just writing down. I've added 2 more movies to my list of that did not make it. And our honorable mentions. Give me a second. I'm going to look up our mystery movie here.
Cool. Yeah, look up Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore. They both have families, and they go on some like African safari or something.
Joint mingling.
Yeah, they hate each other too.
Yeah.
Blended.
There
oh
it
my
is.
God.
Yes, that movie was terrible.
Movie's so bad you forget the title.
Yes,
I didn't see it. It didn't look like me.
I don't remember if it was a straight to Netflix movie, but like it was. I know I watched it on Netflix.
No, that shit came out at the theater.
That did. It was terrible. Yeah. All right, we are now going to go to number 5 on the voting poll. Not a movie that I added. One that was added by our friend Brandon Yoder, who works with Jason and I. It is also a movie that was in Jason's top 3 that he wanted, the Mayor, that he wanted to talk about tonight. And it's a movie that, from a storytelling standpoint, I 100% love it, but it's never like my go-to movie when I want to watch a rom-com, and I don't understand why. The movie is When Harry Met Sally. Written by Nora Ephron, who we've talked about in other rom-coms already. But it's directed by Rob Reiner. We've lost Jason Richardson. He's back. All right, cool. So it's directed by Rob Reiner, who has obviously done fantastic work with all kinds of stuff. But Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan play 2 characters that don't like each other when they meet. Billy Crystal proposes that they try to be friends. Meg Ryan says a man and a woman can't be a friend because sex will always get in the way. And then they spend 12 years randomly running into each other, having one night stands, and developing an emotional attachment to each other. Um, throughout the
Great.
film, it's interspersed with old couples telling the stories of how they met each other, which is a very good, like, non-linear, non sequitur, like, intersplicing, like, fun story. It breaks up the narrative of the story, which I think is needed when you have a story that takes place over such a long period of time. But Mayor, what about this movie puts it so high on your list?
I can't put my finger on it, man. Like, this is
Really?
something that when it came out, I saw it on either HBO or VHS, whatever, when it first came out around that time frame. I know I did not see it in 1989.
89, yep.
Yeah, so I did not see it in 89, probably like 90, 91, 92, somewhere in that range. But it's one of my first rom-coms that I ever saw, probably, which is another reason why it's probably high on my list. And it's almost executed perfectly, man. Like, for me, like, it's just like you said, the intercutting of when there's a time jump, there's the interviews, and then don't know what's going to happen and if they're ever going to be together. But it's this crazy story about these two people who have every single emotion that you can have with somebody else. Like, especially thinking about it from an adult perspective. And, like, you know, in the movie, they also are friends with people that end up getting divorced, and they're trying to figure out, am I supposed to be friends with this couple? Or, like, the guy was friends with the guy and the girl's the friend with the girl. And then they're trying to figure out which direction they're going. And it's just kind of crazy, and just a commentary on life overall. And I just, Billy Crystal is just, him and Meg Ryan can hit a rom-com home run with almost anybody, and Billy Crystal is just comedic gold. And there's so many things in this movie that make you think Meg Ryan's even more of a master than I thought she was previously, with her comedic timing and such. So yeah, it pulls on the heartstrings at the right times, and Rob Reiner is pretty masterful at what he did in this movie. And this is just so good. Easily.
Jaybird, you're shaking your head a lot. You agree?
When Harry Met Sally is just pure rom-com classic. It was then, and it still holds up today, and it's iconic movie. And the movie, it just, whenever I hear the words "When Harry Met Sally," it brings a smile to my face, because I saw it in theaters. So I was there in the moment when it was just life. It was big. It was everything everyone talked about. And then it just grew into this bigger cult over the years and such. But when you break it down, as simple as that movie was, there's just a lot of brilliance to it. And Jason hit the nail on the head. Meg Ryan is good in just about any rom-com, but this was like the one that really put her on the map. And I literally will play the scene back 3 or 4 times when I watch the movie. And my favorite scene out of that whole movie is when they're on the airplane and Billy Crystal tells Meg Ryan that he's getting married. And she's like, you're getting married. Who is she? Like, what bitch would fucking marry you? And the way that she delivered that line, it is pure gold. And I will rewind that back 3 or 4 times, because we all have conversations with people when they tell us something and we're like a little baffled by it. She nails it, and it's just perfect. And it's even, to me, better than the diner orgasm scene, even though I love that. Yeah, but to me, as brilliant as Billy Crystal is in that movie, to me, Meg Ryan is When Harry Met Sally. She is the draw. She is that movie. And she was just brilliant, and she deserves all the attention for it. So
another funny point for me personally is the fact that when Meg Ryan's doing her, like, if it has this, then put it on the side. If it doesn't have this, grab that instead and put it on the sandwich or whatever. She's talking about her food, and she's trying to explain if it has this or that or whatever, and keep changing it. She has this laundry list of things that, like a checklist essentially. And I'll never forget, I was watching this movie one time with my brother David, and he looked at me and he goes, "That's Jennifer." So, that helps elevate it even more for me because of the fact that it's even more personal to have that moment for me. So, yeah.
So
there are a lot of moments in that movie though where Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan reacts to either Billy Crystal or other people's words and whatnot, and just her face expressions. And a lot of times, people that they'll say something to you, and you're just kind of like, you're stuck. Like, am I really listening to this? And everyone can relate to that.
I'm going to be the somewhat odd man out here and just say something like, the thing that I least liked about this movie for a long time was Billy Crystal. Like, I never, through growing up and watching Billy Crystal in other movies, I never saw him as a lead romantic comedy guy. That's not saying that he did a bad job in the movie, but when I watched it I didn't see it in theaters. I didn't see it probably till like 96, 97, like later in my high school years. And I watched it and I was just like, I mean, okay, like I see why people like this movie. Like, it's funny, like I'm laughing, but it was odd to me because of the other stuff I knew Billy Crystal from, that like I never saw him as a lead rom-com guy. Like
this changed it.
It did. I mean, kind of. I don't know. I don't think Forget Paris is that great of a rom-com. I
love that movie. I love Forget Paris. That's got some funny fucking moments in it. When that bird is stuck in her hair, the glue.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
It's funny, but I'm just saying, I don't feel like. Can you name another Billy Crystal-led rom-com to me?
Well, it's not like he had to go, on a rom-com fest and do all.
It wasn't Freddie Prinze Jr.
What?
I said he wasn't Freddie Prinze Jr.
I mean, he didn't get stuck in that bubble, but it was kind of like, you're right in that when that movie came out, you never would have guessed Billy Crystal to be the head star of a rom-com movie. But that was the kind of unique thing in that it worked.
It did.
But then he didn't get stuck in that, that wave of just doing that same thing. Although Forget Paris is a rom-com, not nearly as good as When Harry Met Sally, but good for Billy Crystal. I mean, he just stuck to comedy, but it was like not rom-com.
He did a lot of comedy movies, but he was never like the lead. He was always the best friend or, a random character or whatever. But like when I first saw this movie, that was the thing that I remember being like 16, 17 years old, watching it going, I can't relate to this guy. Like, I've seen the other work that this guy does. Like, I don't relate to him like I would relate to Freddie Prinze Jr. Like,
I feel like Billy Crystal is like an everyday man, especially in this movie.
And
like,
as I've gotten older,
how do any of us relate to Freddie Prinze Jr.? He's like skinny, muscled,
tall,
really good
skinny.
Looking. How the fuck do you relate to Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Look, man, we all have dreams. Okay, yeah, I can dream.
Like, I know what you did last summer. How in the fuck did you relate to Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Look, okay, growing up, there was 3 people that I wanted to be: Brad Pitt,
Kevin Smith,
Paul Walker, and Freddie Prinze Jr. And I am the combined weight now of all 3 of them put together. Anyway, let's move on. Movie number 4 out of the top 10 popular. Not a comedy?
I don't find this as a rom-com personally.
Interesting.
I don't even know what it is. What is it?
It's one of your top 3 movies, Jaybird.
All right, give me a hint. I know what this one is. All right,
well, give me the plot of it.
If I'm thinking more of it right now, it would probably more of a dramedy.
Okay.
So we can take it out if you want.
No. I'm just saying, me personally, it was on the poll.
It was on the poll, and enough people voted
it was one of those
4.
when you're it was one of those when you're, I think a lot of people would gravitate and call it a romantic comedy, but it definitely would probably be more of a road dramedy.
I'll agree with that.
And that would be Pretty Woman.
Yes, Pretty Woman, which is directed by Gary Marshall, who has a pretty good history of rom-coms. He did The Runaway Bride, both Princess Diaries movies, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, like a lot of movies that involve romance and comedic elements. So he's got a good history. I'm
sorry for that one.
Don't be sorry.
When you ask for suggestions, I mean, that just naturally came to me. But when I think about it, that's a road dramedy.
But again,
more of a road dramedy.
Out of the entire community, it was voted into 4th place. So people agree that it's
I know, because a lot of
rom-com.
people would associate that as a romantic comedy, but
and like my wife, this is probably my wife's absolutely favorite movie ever.
That's a movie staple, man. That is a movie staple.
It is, and there's a lot of dramedy, but there is also some funny stuff that happens. It's, as Jason and I have talked about in the last couple of weeks, the fish out of water comedy is very present in this movie.
Right. Yeah. But Julia Roberts was just kind of, with the exception of Jason Mayer, stole a lot of hearts and just swept a lot of people off their feet. It was her big break. And it was just, to me, it's a solid film. It's got a lot of humor, funny moments in it, but it does have a few serious moments in it. But it's just a nice blend of a kind of fairy tale type, thing of how you meet your guy. Hooker meets rich guy, and well, they end up together in the end. So
he eventually becomes her white knight, despite her saying that she doesn't want a white knight.
Exactly.
Proof again that women are crazy.
Now I got to hear Jason Mayer on this.
I know the movie's fine. I know a lot of people who love this movie. The soundtrack is actually better for me than the movie is.
King of wishful thinking.
But there's all sorts of songs on there. Oh my gosh, It Must Have Been Love.
Yeah.
But it's one of those movies that I've never understood why it gets so much love. Because how many women identify with being a hooker, or maybe more can see that similarity in their own lives than I'm even kind of picturing. I don't know. It's just one of those things to me that just kind of this is one of the best romantic movies of all time, where he literally has to buy her.
Well, I mean, you kind of think about it, there are all the supporting characters make the movie too. Like, what's his name? Hector Elizondo, the hotel guy, kind of helping the girl out and teaching her manners, and watching his reactions of how she's trying to, improve and whatnot. And then you get her going into the store and no one wants to help her. And a lot of people can relate to that.
Who's the rapey friend?
That's Jason. What's his name from Seinfeld?
Jason Alexander.
Yes. And he had some good lines and moments in there too, and
yeah.
It's just one of those movies for at the time in March of 1990. That and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles those were the big movies in 1990, and I remember like it was yesterday.
Good,
and it's just one of those things where
we're going to talk
right
about the Ninja
time.
Turtles.
What's that?
I said good, because the next week we're going to talk about Ninja Turtles.
Oh my god! But no, at the time it came out, it was just the right time, right moment, and it was probably one of the last few films that actually stayed in theaters for more than 6 months.
Okay.
It kind of, that was the last of that, where a movie would come out and would stay out for a very, very lengthy period of time. And in fact, I think it played most of the year, and you just don't see that. So it's nice to see an audience embrace a film, and they just had repeat business. People just fell in love with it.
Very cool. We're going to move on to the number 3 movie now on the poll. This is one that I would put probably in my personal top 3 romantic comedies of all time. It is probably in my top 10 films of all time. Written and directed by Richard Curtis. It is Love Actually from 2003. We have nine love stories all taking place at the same time that are all in small ways interconnected. Friends of friends of friends.
All around Christmas.
All around Christmas, so obviously I love that. I love the fact that it opens 5 weeks before Christmas because of the fact that they don't celebrate Thanksgiving in England. So yeah, like it's 9 romantic
Wait a second.
comedy love stories.
What did you? Wait a minute. I may have just learned something. What did you just say?
They don't celebrate Thanksgiving in England?
Oh, I just never thought about that. Okay.
Like, nobody landed on Plymouth Rock from England.
I know, but I just for some reason when you said that, it just kind of like I never really thought about that, you know?
Yeah. Just like when you ask anybody from England if they celebrate July 4th, they're like, yeah, that's the day we got rid of you guys.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, Love
ahead,
Actually.
finish.
We have 9 romantic stories going on. Most of them are funny. Most of them have either dramatic irony or actual physical comedy going on between the two of them. And then, like I said, they're minorly interspersed with each other, friends of friends, hanging out. I literally love every moment of this movie. I laugh a lot. I cry every time I watch it because that's the person that I am. It's absolutely perfect in my opinion for a romantic comedy. Like, it has romance, it has drama, it has comedy. It all weaves itself together in funny ways. And yeah, I'm spewing over it. Mayor, do you have any feelings towards it?
Love the movie.
Good.
Fantastic film. Definitely it's something that I probably watch every Christmas at least once.
I watch it all year long because it's not only a Christmas movie, it's a love story.
And Shane has a PSA about it. But yeah, you got a good point. I can watch it any time of year, but I know I watch it at least once during Christmas. It's fantastic, lots of fun. Hugh Grant is awesome in it, as he's most romantic movies that he's in. Speaking of which, like, we already know, like, I have this list here that I keep adding to, and I'm up to 7 now. We've already mentioned 2 Weeks Notice, which has Hugh Grant. And
what about
Sandra.
Music and Lyrics?
Music and Lyrics is on
there
my
you
list.
Go.
That almost made my list when we were doing the top.
Him
3.
and Drew Barrymore.
It was in my top 12. So so like it's just he's fantastic in this movie. Yeah. We've talked about this movie on other podcasts. I know we have. So just a lot of fun. Love the movie. Can't recommend it enough. If you haven't seen it, find the time to watch it.
Love
my
Actually.
Absolute favorites. Yes. Jaybird, your thoughts and feelings on Love Actually?
I like Love Actually a lot, but I felt that there was one of the stories we probably could not have cut out. Can you guess which one?
What?
Guess which one?
I can't guess because they're all perfect.
The writer?
The what?
The writer?
Colin Firth? No.
I wouldn't have cut that out, but I don't want to cut anything out.
You can't cut any of the stories out.
As special as the movie was and as big as it is, I felt that the porn stars to me didn't fit in.
No, here you go. Here is why they are important to the concept of Love Actually.
Tell me, Shane.
They are 2 people. First of all, they're porn star stand-ins. They're not actually even porn stars. They're people who get paid to stand in for porn stars to get the lighting correct before the sex scenes actually happen. Throughout the course of the film, they are shedding their clothing. When they first start doing the original porn scenes, they're fully clothed. Every time we see them, they have less clothing on to the point where they are completely naked in front of each other. At that point, he asks her out on a date, completely naked, bare all in front of this other person that you don't know, completely naked. He asks her out on a date. When they go on their date, fully clothed as normal people, they have a harder time communicating with each other than they did when they were completely naked and just talking about their day and talking about life. It's the dichotomy of these are two people who, when they are on a actual date together, fully clothed, they have trouble communicating. But when they're on set doing their job completely butt-ass naked, they have no problems talking to each other, telling each other about their day, talking about their life, talking about the drive-in that day, the commute that morning. Like, no problems communicating. However, when they're clothed, they have trouble talking. So you can't cut that out.
That. But okay, so the way you tee that up, that's brilliant, and that's a good perspective. I'll take that in, and that makes perfect sense. But I wish that at one point those two were fucking
more
rubbing up on each
less.
other. Right. And I felt like that kind of ruined the movie for me, even though I'm not against nudity. You know what I mean? I'm not like squeaky clean here.
But the point of that scene is they were totally relaxed while they were doing that.
But I understand that, but they could have been naked and then they not show that. To me, the movie it took away from the specialness of that movie per se. That movie should have been PG-13.
Okay.
And as much as people embrace that movie, or it's so culty, like it is a family movie, a family Christmas movie. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll put this out there.
Am I making any sense, Jason?
I didn't recommend this movie to my mother until I could get her the TV version of it.
Yeah, I just kind of, for me, you could have had the adult stars, the fill-ins or whatever. You could have still had them, but I didn't want to see them naked. They didn't have to show them naked. They could have just, they're naked, but you're not seeing anything. And then they could not have been like moving and grunting on each other and whatnot. I think that took away from everything else in the movie, but they still could have had them still, but not actually show the nudity and show them, humping each other.
But the point of it is those scenes show how open they are to each other during that situation. Like, they are completely butt-ass naked and simulating sex with each other.
Oh, I know, and I'm not trying to sound prude or anything like that. I don't know. Jason, are you able to put it in perspective for me? Because I'm sometimes horrible with trying to explain.
No. I can understand your thought process, because you also have to think this was made in England. This is not something that is set for an American audience necessarily. So the mindset of nudity is completely different here than it is there. There, right. It's no big deal. Nobody cares, right? Like, I mean, heck, women are topless at the swim bad all the time. Like, it's no big deal to have nudity. They see violence and cursing as something that's way worse than showing all natural. So I can understand where you're coming from, and I would bet that this is a family movie overseas.
Yeah, it's one of the most perfect films probably ever made. Romantic comedy. What's that?
Shane loves a movie that is British.
Yeah, it's so
I
weird,
like some British movies too. They can actually do an up-to-date, where these characters are now, actually do a movie and not just some like 5-minute piece that they did one time.
Hey, the Red Nose Day clip was amazing. It was so much fun to see those characters now.
Yeah, they could totally do a whole full movie of Love Actually today, That'd
be awesome. I'd watch it.
Yep.
Yeah,
that would be absolutely fun. As much as I love talking about this movie, we are going to move on to the number 2 voted movie, which would have been in my top 3 if somebody didn't steal it for this conversation. But it was released in 1999. My girlfriend Julia Stiles is in the movie.
This amazes me. So
my heartthrob Heath Ledger is in the movie.
The top 2 movies, really? Romantic comedy?
How is the retelling of Taming of the Shrew not a romantic comedy? It was one of Shakespeare's comedies.
It's
so good.
Movie. Brilliant movie. Great movie. When I think of oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
You're good. 10 Things I Hate About You is one of the best rom-coms of 1999, which produced quite a few good rom-coms.
I just don't think of it as a rom-com.
What other category could it fall into?
I could see this being just a comedy.
No, there is romantic elements. There is multiple relationships that are attempting to happen in this film.
I know, but here's the thing, though. But here's the thing, though, and you can kind of put the X on me with Pretty Woman and whatnot, because that is more of a dramedy. Rom-coms to me are 10 Things I Hate About You is like smart, elegant, smart. Like,
let me ask you two questions. Are there any romantic relationships in 10 Things I Hate About You? Are there any romantic relationships in 10 Things I Hate About You?
You don't have to keep repeating yourself, Shane.
Yeah, like Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger.
Yeah. So is there funny moments that you would call comedic in 10 Things I Hate About You?
Yeah.
Cool. Rom-coms.
Right. But I guess, at the end of the day, yeah, you could call it a rom-com, but it's not that traditional rom-com.
What's not traditional about it?
Like, I don't even, I guess for the most part, and listening to some of these other movies that have popped up and whatnot, and maybe this is why, you were surprised why Never Been Kissed was not on my top 3 and whatnot.
Sure.
Because I don't look at Drive Me Crazy, Never Been Kissed. I don't look at them as those traditional type of rom-coms or 10 Things I Hate About You. I think of rom-coms as more adult people in relationships than teenagers.
Oh, okay. That's something that I had never considered. I literally, when I think about rom-coms, it's literally, is there a relationship going on that can be considered romantic? Guy trying to woo girl for whatever reason.
Well, that was Porky's too.
Sure. If you told me Porky's was one of your favorite rom-coms, I don't know if I could argue it. It was funny.
But Porky's to me is a comedy, but there were people seeking out each other romantically in Porky's. But does that make Porky's a romantic comedy? It would just be a comedy.
But was their goal to create a relationship? Because I feel like with 10 Things I Hate About You, their literal goal is to get with the girl, which I feel is romantic.
Porky's right, but was 10 Things I Hate About You, was it really funny?
I laugh a lot every time I watch it.
I have to watching it. It's a good movie. It really is. It's one I don't have instilled in my head, and when I watch it each time, it's like, oh, okay,
it's very smartly written and has a lot of good one-liners in it that I feel are very funny.
This is the whole point of why you do this video thing, because when people watch this, I think that what it really comes down to, it's really a demographic difference. And so listening to a lot of the rom-coms that you've mentioned tonight are on the younger end.
Sure.
And mine are more of the older school, middle-aged people rom-coms that I think more people look at traditional rom-coms.
Gotcha. Mayor, it's on your top 3, so justify it for me. Take my side.
What? I mean, I can see Jaybird's point of view on this.
Okay.
I personally think it's a romantic comedy because it has a whole lot of romance in it, and it has a whole lot of comedy in it. It is a younger version, essentially, of like When Harry Met Sally. To me, like it's not like it, just because of the fact that you have so much going on.
Sure.
And these two people, but to me, this movie is just. I hate to use this phrase too often, but there's certain movies that just when they hit the right tone are just adorable. and like you're just enamored with everything that's happening on screen from beginning to end. And like this is one of those movies for me. So I can't argue that it's I would always say it's a rom-com, but I can see Jaybird's point on why he doesn't see it that way. But like something that just popped into my head, Shane, I'm going to play devil's advocate against you for a second.
Oh, no, you're not. Edit this
American
part out.
Pie has 4 love stories going on in it, and it's a comedy, and I don't consider that a rom-com at all. That's straight up comedy. So
I'd put that in the rom-coms.
Yeah, what movie?
American Pie.
Yeah, totally a rom-com. Yep.
No, I wouldn't put it in that category.
American Pie would be a romp comedy.
I'm fine with that. A romp comedy.
Let's ask the IMDb.
Like, fuck.
American Pie.
Following you. I'm saying it's also a raunchy comedy.
Oh, according to
yeah, it is. But I don't think of it as a romantic comedy.
According to the IMDb, it is listed only as a comedy and nothing else.
See, but so you know, everybody's perception of things is completely different, right?
Sure.
So
I find that movie totally romantic. Stifler is obviously very romantic.
Oh, Shane, how old are you?
Older than I wish I was.
Oh, wow.
I'm older than you, so I do not consider American Pie to be a romantic comedy.
Yeah, I'm right.
Romantic comedies, for the most part, center on 2 individuals and not like 50 million thousand people. But I mean,
but we just talked about Love Actually. Love Actually is a rom-com.
But depending, with the rare exception of a Love Actually, or maybe even like a Valentine's Day movie, you know what I mean? Like, but rom-coms specifically are more adult leaning. When I say adult, not in high school. I'm talking more of like we're like just out of college or out of college and above, more adult, and it's centered on like 2 people for the most part.
So I'm going to throw out another movie. This is literally one of my wife's all-time favorite movies. I didn't even think about it until right now. I don't know if it's on the poll or not. But do you guys consider He's Just Not That Into You a rom-com?
I would.
You would? But that's multiple storylines.
Well,
that's not really that funny.
But I'm not saying multiple storylines don't fit rom-com. I'm just saying when you just think in general rom-com, it's really focused on 2 people trying to get 2 people together in the fucking movie. But
it has a lot of other relationships going on. Like there's like 6 relationships going on in that movie.
Totally get that. But in general, though, I think when a lot of times, if you ask someone to name off the cuff, rom-com movies, a lot of times the rom-com movie that they'll state basically is that traditional rom-com where it's like 2 people trying to get together through the movie, not movies where you've got a bunch of different people. But it doesn't mean that movie's not a rom-com. You know what I mean?
All right, I got you. So
does that make sense, Mayor?
Yeah.
So let's jump to number 1. We'll debate this.
And this is embarrassing.
And then then we can move on to like other films that are on you guys' lists and stuff like that, or anything you've thought of. The number 1 vote-getting movie on the poll, which was actually only like 2 or 3 votes ahead of 10 Things I Hate About You, which kind of made me happy. I love this movie, but it's definitely like an action-adventure movie more than a comedy, in my opinion.
It's a fairy tale. It's a fucking fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale, but it's The Princess Bride, which has an amazing cast.
What a waste of a vote.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie, when we did this poll and I was voting on these movies, that was another thing. Like in my 12, I told you that 12 list that I had, and I kept going, well, that's not really a romantic comedy. And I kept pulling it out. When we saw this list, I literally was going down and there was tons of movies. You had Love and Basketball in this category. I don't think that's a rom-com. I think that's not a rom-com. That's a drama.
That's a dramedy and more drama than comedy.
Yeah. So like for me personally, like I didn't check that box because it's not rom-com for me.
Okay.
So like the same thing happening with this movie, like Princess Bride. No, No, this is a fairy tale. This is a fantasy. Yes, it's romantic. Yes, it has comedy. It's got Billy Crystal. It's got all sorts of funny people in it. Not a comedy.
Not a rom-com?
Not a rom-com.
Too many other things going on to make it a rom-com.
Yeah, way too many other things.
Well, I know that I put it on the list.
I mean, a lot of times in rom-coms, you've got, the girl or the guy who has their best friend that they have conversations with. Do you think she likes me? You don't think she likes me? You think she likes me? You don't. That's not in The Princess Bride. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
I don't know. Did you put that movie or did someone else add Princess Bride?
I put it on there. It was one of those movies that like when I sat down to come up with my like original 20 that I was putting on there, I had two things that I thought of. What are the most romantic movies that I can think of? And then did I laugh when I watched them? So I will admit that I was the one that put Princess Bride as an available option to vote for because I know that a lot of people love the movie as a romantic movie. And I know there is a lot of comedy in the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those, and I get that, but at the same time, you could list any fucking genre and a bunch of movies under that genre and tell people to label, their top on that.
Sure.
And Princess Bride could be in like the horror category, but people fucking love that movie so goddamn much that they'll put it at the top on any category whatsoever.
Sure.
That movie is, I have a respect for it, but I think that movie is so fucking overrated.
Really? That's a very interesting thought.
That movie is so overrated. And I like Rob Reiner and whatnot. And there's some things that I like about the movie, but it's just like that movie is put up on a pedestal like no other. And all these romantic comedy options that are available, some cult classics, some just good, bad, whatever. How did this become number one? It's because it's just The Princess Bride. Everybody likes The Princess Bride, so they make it number one.
I won't argue with the fact that is why it became number one. A movie that I think I put it on the poll. I didn't include it in our script tonight to talk about. I love the film Chasing Amy, but even though I think it's a very romantic film,
that's a dramedy,
and I laugh a lot when I watch it because it's funny, I will agree with you that there is far too much drama going on in the movie to make it not a romantic comedy. Mayor, on your list of 12 that you got going on, is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that might be worth bringing up?
I can't remember what all was on my list of 12. I wish I would have kept it.
Oh.
But the other ones that popped into my head while we were doing this, we already talked about 2 weeks' notice. We brought up music and lyrics, which is a whole lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I need to watch that again.
For its 80s references. And Drew Barrymore once again kills it in a rom-com along with Hugh Grant. We talked about it briefly while you were sleeping. That's all like it following our interpretation of rom-com right now. I don't know if it falls into rom-com category anymore, but it's very silly and romantic.
I think While You Were Sleeping would fall into the romantic comedy.
Like I can see it either way. But Bill Pullman and Sandra Bullock, so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, love that movie. Love that movie.
The 4 movies that popped up that we haven't mentioned at all tonight. Friends. I love that movie.
Which one?
Just Friends.
Amy Smart and Ryan Reynolds. Oh yeah, great movie.
So good. And being a fat guy, like it's easy for me to associate the things that go on with Ryan Reynolds' character in that movie.
Sure.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's so bad. It's such a bad movie, and I'm not even like this is. It would never be in my top 10, but it's one of those ones. Like My parents told me growing up that Goldie Hawn was hilarious. And don't get me wrong, I've seen her in some stuff and I think she's funny. But they were like, oh, she does physical comedy. And like they were talking about like Cactus Flower back in the day and all other movies where Goldie Hawn was. Well, yeah, but even before then, like.
But I think it was more of like her TV. She was on like something called Mad TV or something. That's kind of like Saturday Night Live. Where it's more sketchy type stuff.
It was called Laugh In.
Laugh In, where she had a lot of that physical and whatnot. I think that's kind of more where that came from. But she has a lot of good light humor in her movies, even from the 70s, 80s.
I totally agree. And in this movie, though, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Kate Hudson channels her mother, and the comedic timing in that movie is so great for her character. How she's ridiculous and like, when she's like, she goes over to his house and she's doing all this crazy stuff and just constantly causing all these problems for him.
Bullshit.
And dude, it cracks me up all the time. Like when she's like, I'm a vegan. And then she runs into the kitchen and she's like eating a cheeseburger so that like.
That's one I'll have to watch again. It's been a while since I've seen it.
And Matthew McConaughey's a super like he's Will Smith's Hitch character essentially. And
right.
He gets essentially torn down and becomes in love with this girl, and it
bullshit.
It's so good though. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. The Wedding Singer. Just watched this like a month ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, so perfect. Like
lots of fun.
The 80s references in it constantly.
Yep.
And we already talked about the Adam Sandler Drew Barrymore connection.
Yep.
Like it's so perfect in that movie, and they play so well off of each other. Then my last one is just because it's another John Cusack movie for me is America's Sweethearts, and it's so weird because it's not that great of a movie. But you got Julia Roberts, Catherine Zeta-Jones, John Cusack, Hank Azaria, and like it just tons of people in that movie, and it's very silly and ridiculous. But it also is one of those movies that kind of and like High Fidelity was something that I thought about having on this list because I love that movie so much. But I feel like that's more of a dramedy than it is a romantic comedy. And I say that because of it, like there's some gut wrenching stuff in that happens. And most of the time in romantic comedies, that's a lot lighter for me personally. Mm-hmm. So I don't need something that's going to punch me so hard that I feel like I actually feel what the guy's going through kind of moment. Although I'm sure that happens in some of the movies that we've already talked about. We could probably pick it apart and be like, but in this movie, this happened. But yeah, those are the movies that I was thinking of while we were talking.
Sure. Richardson, you got anything else off the top of your head? Any more rom-coms you can think of that we haven't talked about?
I'm gonna get some eye rolls here, but ones that I just kind of like. Again, they're not Oscar worthy. They're just kind of light fun that if they come on the TV, I'll just stick and I'll watch it. Like, so there's one that came out in 2007 called Because I Said So with Diane Keaton, Mandy Moore.
I don't know if I've seen this. I don't remember
it. So yeah, it's just a lighthearted romantic comedy where Diane Keaton's trying to hook her daughter up with, a guy. And so Mandy Moore likes one guy, but then Diane Keaton thinks that she should be with more of a prestige type guy. And so she ends up dating both guys at the same time. And it's just, I love Mandy Moore. I've always loved Mandy Moore. Even me, yes, I have a crush on Mandy Moore. So it's just a fun, no-brainer romantic comedy, and I love it. And I recommend watching it because it's just silly. But again, I love Diane Keaton, and I love Mandy Moore. So, and then I'm kind of a sucker for like Jennifer Lopez, Mate in Manhattan.
I was actually just thinking about when Mayor was talking about Hugh Grant. I was like, didn't he do a movie with J-Lo? And I couldn't remember what it was.
Well, the thing is that Mate in Manhattan and 2 Weeks Notice were out at the same time in winter of 2002.
Okay.
Or that Christmas of '02, Thanksgiving, Christmas of '02 period. And that's when I got shifted back to Clearwater for that 7-8 month hiatus or whatever. But I just love Made in Manhattan. I like the underdog romantic comedy stories at times. And to me, I always thought that was an odd collaboration between J-Lo and what's his name, Ray Fiennes. But it worked out. But it was kind of still an odd combination. You know what I mean?
Wait, okay. That wasn't Hugh Grant in Made in
Manhattan? No, that was Ray
Fiennes.
Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes? Oh, wow. What? I feel like...
Written by John Hughes.
Interesting.
Under
also totally dumb. I don't know why I thought it was Hugh Grant in that movie.
But yeah, he wrote it under his nom de plume.
Interesting. I got another one that I thought of real quick. How do you guys feel about considering Coyote Ugly to be a rom-com?
No.
Not a rom-com.
What would you call that? There's romantic stuff. You laugh a lot during the movie. It's funny.
Shane, you are bad at this. You're bad. You're just bad at this.
Oh, apparently, I have a weird sense of rom-coms.
Shane thinks anything that has a good-looking girl in it is a rom-com.
Good Lord. I'm waiting
they
for
make
you to
me
say
laugh,
Titanic
and
is
is there a hot
romantic comedy.
All right, Jaber, give me another one.
Oh, well, I mean, if this helps here, because I've got like a bunch of my movies in storage here and whatnot, so I'm kind of taking a look. So I'm looking through my stash right now, and I mean, I'm not saying this, but I'm waiting for you to say like Shrek's a romantic comedy or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, would you consider Bruce Almighty? Bruce Almighty is a comedy. Looking through my stuff here. Oh, geez, my goodness. You think of one, Shane, and then I'll jump in here.
Okay, cool. Let me come back. Let's start with Cruel Intentions, romantic comedy.
Come on.
No.
Okay.
Doing it for effect.
How about Save the Last Dance?
Stop.
No. Okay. How about Down to You?
Yes.
Romantic comedy. Cool. Down to You is a romantic comedy.
Oh my God, we got one finally.
Starring two of the most beautiful people in Hollywood, Freddie Prinze Jr., who we've already talked about, and Julia Stiles, who we've already talked about.
My favorite part of that movie is when he's dreaming or she's dreaming, and at one point he looks down at her and he goes, "Te quiero." It's while he's like like he's supposed to be a Spanish chef or something.
Yep.
Oh man!
And his dad's Henry Winkler, and he's a famous chef.
Oh man, that movie is so silly. Head Over Heels is another rom-com that is absolutely horrid.
I'm realizing I've got a lot of serious shit. Is Knocked Up a rom-com? No.
Head Over Heels?
Knocked Up? Ooh, I'd call that a comedy. Yeah, Head Over Heels, Shane.
A comedy.
Your friend just sent that to you, didn't he?
He did. I put up on Facebook that I found my ticket stub from when I watched the movie like 20 years ago. And I literally apparently didn't remember any of the actual plot of the movie. Our friend David Richmond had to tell me the actual plot of the movie, and I was totally wrong about it. I paid $5.50 to go to the matinee showing of Head Over Heels. My buddy Nick Joy paid $5.50 on Amazon to buy me that DVD and have it sent to me. It unfortunately is still in its packaging. I need to actually open it and watch the movie. I told my wife Caitlin we were going to watch it so that I can actually remember the movie as good as David Richmond does.
Yeah, dude.
I think. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not a good rom-com, but it's silly and it fits right up Freddie Prinze Jr.'s alley. So,
what about like Failure to Launch?
Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'd call that yeah.
That's
I don't remember the plot of it, but I remember it being funny and romantic.
She is hired. It's kind of like reverse Hitch. Sarah Jessica Parker gets hired by people to get their like 30-somethings out of their house and want to become an actual like human, like a responsible human being outside of their own, like their parents' home. Shane, you got to turn around and see what's on the screen right now.
Okay, right on. Yep.
Jack and Diane. Movie. What about My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
What about Adventureland?
See, that's a comedy.
Oh God, see, you're too young, man. You're too fucking young.
What? What's so young about this? It's a great movie about the 80s. And it's got Ryan Reynolds in it.
You were stuck in that Kevin Smith, Ryan Reynolds bubble.
Office Space considered a rom-com from you, Shane?
Yes.
That's a comedy.
That is a comedy.
It has a lot of romantic stuff that goes on in it. He's trying to win over a girl.
Well, you could easily think of female celebrities or male celebrities, and a lot of them have done multiple rom-com movies. You know what I mean? So
sure.
Who have we kind of another Julia Roberts, My Best Friend's Wedding. Great romantic comedy.
Great movie. Yep. So Paul Rudd, The Object of My Affection.
I think of that more as a dramedy.
Okay.
Is that the one where Paul Rudd's gay?
Yep.
Yes.
I was trying to remember which one, because she had a bunch of movies. Oh, Picture Perfect was the one.
Picture Perfect. Yep.
Jay Moore and her, right?
Yep.
That the main ones for that one.
Yep.
They definitely tried to make Jennifer Aniston the it girl really hard at one point.
They tried.
So what? Okay, so we may have named a few, but if you think of Sandra Bullock, you think of her as kind of a rom-com. So we said maybe why you
totally a rom-com.
Speed 2 is
Demolition Man, totally a rom-com.
So the Hope Floats, no.
I would consider Hope Floats a rom-com. She's trying to get with Harry Connick Jr.
That is a dramedy, man.
That's
really?
A dark movie. That's a heavy movie.
Hell yeah, it is. Okay, maybe Sandra Bullock wasn't the a good example.
Fine, Julia Roberts in Runaway Bride.
Runaway Bride would be kind of a romantic comedy.
Mayor, would you say?
Yeah.
I said, let's just start naming movies that have Rachel Lee Cook in them. I'm sure all of them are comedies.
No, because Antitrust is not a rom-com, even though Paul Walker is in it.
Who is big actors? Okay, so Tom Hanks. You got Mail. Sleepers in Seattle.
Joe versus the Volcano?
I would say
I'd say Splash rom-com.
Splash, I'd call a rom-com.
Splash, I'd give you a rom-com. Yeah.
Would you call A Fish Called Wanda a rom-com?
No, that's a comedy.
What about Mystic Pizza?
I've never seen that.
Dramedy.
Okay. St. Elmo's Fire.
Dramedy.
Okay.
Actually, no. I would. St. Elmo's Fire is kind of. That's more serious in my opinion.
But there is a lot of funny stuff in that movie.
We'll give it.
You'd say Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a rom-com, and I don't think that's a rom-com by any means.
I think that's a comedy.
Yeah.
So how much romance has to be in a movie for you to consider it a rom-com? Because he's literally doing a lot of Ferris is doing a lot of the stuff that he's doing to try to impress a girl that day, which I find he's
already got her though.
But it's a fucking high school student. I'm not saying that to you. I'm not saying that at you. I'm just.
So high school students can't be romantic?
No, I'm just thinking.
What about High School Musical?
Anything with high school students for the most. Anything with high school students for the most part are teenage movies.
What's wrong with that? But there's romance and there's comedy. That makes it a rom-com.
Well, a youthful rom-com then.
Okay.
There's youthful rom-com and mature rom-com.
Okay.
So another example. Think of some big actors.
Did Mel Gibson ever do a rom-com? Oh, The Man Without a Face?
No, drama, total drama.
Wait, what's
Forever
the one?
Young, total
Forever
drama.
Young. Okay, yeah, that's the one with him and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I would love to see that movie again, but I can't get it. I don't know. What'd you say?
What Women Want is the only rom-com that I can think of that he did.
Yeah, I consider that a rom-com. There's so many, and I know there's a bunch that
we call Wedding Crashers a rom-com.
I would.
Okay. You know what? I would almost. It's borderline.
I agree.
Could be comedy.
That's the one that's kind of like it's almost.
But generally though, rom-coms center on a guy and a girl.
Bachelor Party.
No, that's comedy. That's raunchy comedy almost.
I know.
That's raunchy comedy.
I love that movie.
I'm going to kick myself in the rear because there's so many movies that we're forgetting that's a
comedy, Shane.
He's trying to get the girl throughout the movie.
Hey, yeah, but look, in that movie, that's not the main point. That's not the whole point of that movie.
Which movie are we on now?
Grandma's Boy.
Oh my God, that's a comedy. It's almost raunchy comedy.
It is a raunchy comedy.
But he's trying to impress the girl once he meets her throughout the course of it.
You are stretching this like a condom, man. It's not working. It's just not working.
I think what we have learned tonight. I think what we have learned tonight is that people's definitions of romantic comedies are pretty broad, and people see things differently. Because again, as we saw with the #1 vote-getting movie, A Princess Bride, which one of us thinks is overrated, not everybody sees romantic comedies the same way. Again, my entire thought process going into this is, does the plot involve romance, and do I laugh when I watch the movie? But apparently other people look at things differently, which is totally fine.
Well, yeah, but you qualified basketball movies, and you were like, yes, there's a basketball scene in it, but that doesn't make it a basketball movie.
Well, I mean,
man, you are bringing my own words back on me.
It's like, would you consider Boys Don't Cry a horror movie? That's like calling out a horror movie where it's like, that's a drama.
Okay. So, again, this has been a great discussion about looking into what everybody considers a rom-com. And again, I may have gone a little too far with Grandma's Boy. I might not actually consider that a romantic comedy.
That's that beer kicking in.
Yeah, it's definitely that 12 to 14% beer kicking in and me attempting humor. So it's been a great conversation tonight. I absolutely loved everything that we talked about. Next week, Jason Mayer and I are going to be joined by our friend Brandon Yoder, and we are going to deep dive into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're going to look at all the various iterations from comics to the live-action movies to the Michael Bay movies to the animated series to the comic books. We're going to look at it all and talk about a lot of the video games. We'll talk about a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff next week, and I'm super excited to go back to that part of my childhood. Jason Richardson, I really appreciate your time this week. Thank you for being available a week later than we were supposed to do this. And Jason Mayer, always love having you around. Really appreciate you on this, and we will see everybody next week.